Kosha, an encyclopedia of Vedic knowledge by pact. Vedas. Chatur Vedas.
ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपवज्रवत्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणान् ब्रह्मणस्पतः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः
How did Vedas originate? Himavan and Mena had 3 daughters and a son. Ragini is the eldest daughter. Kutila is the second daughter. Kali is the third daughter. At the age of 6, the 3 girls went for severe penance to attain Lord Shiva as their husband. Even at the age of 8, the 3 maidens took to tapasya. All the deities were captivated at the beauty of the 3 girls. The devas were watching who among the 3, Ragini, Kutila and Kali, would become the consort of Shiva. All the 3 were interested in penance. The devas took Ragini to Brahmalok and showed her to Brahma, and the latter declared that Ragini was incapable of bearing the virility of Shiva. Ragini got angry and Brahma cursed her and made her into Sandhya Raga, and she took her place in the sky with Usha's dawn as twilight colors. Kutila was a popular female name in the first millennium of BC, having been the name of one of the beautiful daughters of Mena and Himavan. The second daughter, Kutila, was exceptionally beautiful with fair complexion and lotus eye. Kutila grabbed the attention of Lord Aditya and Ashtavasus. Right away they took her to Satyaloka. They inquired Lord Brahma with utmost reverence whether Kutila was capable to give birth to a child who could kill the demon Mahishasura. Lord Brahma's answer was deeply disappointing that Kutila was not competent to receive the brilliant energies from Lord Shiva. Brahma replied, "She might not be able to withstand the brilliance of Mahadeva. Leave her." But she replied that she had the ability to win over the severity of her tapasya, even Janardhana and even Shiva Mahadeva's head. Brahma got furious by her nature and turned her into a water flow which joined the forceful rivers of Brahmaloka. So Lord Aditya and Ashtavasus decided to release her from Satyaloka. The most disappointed Kutila challenged Lord Brahma that she would try all her means to get her wishes fulfilled and to have a child from Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma cursed Kutila at her arrogance, and she was malformed into a river. She flooded the Brahmaloka with her strong current. Shortly, Lord Brahma brought her under control. Still, Kutila got angry at Brahma and said, "Lord, I will try to become fit to bear the unbearable radiance of Shiva. I'll do penance properly and please Vishnu and make Shiva bow his head. I take a vow to that effect." Brahma became angry and told Kutila, "You wicked Kutila, you did not succumb to my words, so by my curse you will be turned to water." Kutila, having been cursed by Brahma, became water and began to flood the world of Brahma. Seeing the flow of water, Brahma made causeways on 4 sides with the Vedas of Rig, Yajus, Sama and Atharva. Thus being tied up, she stays in the world of Brahma. Vedas came down along with the waters of Kutila. Each causeway brought down Veda mantras. In Vedic age, there were 33 deities and Vedic mantras hailed them as they came down as Vedic droplets. As they were flowing down, great rishis visualized them. According to Vedic tradition, when the Supreme Lord created this material world, his transcendental energy pervaded every corner of it. This spiritual energy was the pure vibration, Shabda Brahma, in which the Supreme Himself can be found. It is explained that first there was the subtle vibration of spiritual sound, the eternal and spiritual vibration called the Shabda Brahma. This appeared from the sky of the heart of the most elevated Lord Brahma. His mind was perfectly calm and fixed in spiritual understanding. It is possible to perceive this subtle vibration when all external hearing is halted. Through the worship of this subtle form of the Vedas, mystics can cleanse their hearts of all faults and impurities caused by the association of various material substances and actions. Thus they can attain liberation from further cycles of birth and death, as said in Bhagavad Gita. It is from that spiritual sound vibration that arose the Omkara, Om, composed of 3 sounds. These 3 sounds are A, O and These uphold the 3 aspects of material existence, the 3 modes of material nature, the 3 Vedas, namely Rig, Yajur and Sama, and the 3 planetary systems of Bhur, Bhuvar and Swar, as well as the 3 functional platforms of consciousness called waking, sleep and deep sleep. This Omkara has unseen potencies and will arise in one's heart when it is completely purified. It is the representation of the absolute truth in all 3 features, namely as the Supreme Personality, the Paramatma or Super Soul in the heart, and as the impersonal Brahman. Omkara is non-material and imperceptible and is heard by the Super Soul without the use of material ears or senses. The entire expanse of genuine Vedic sound is an expansion of Omkara. It is the direct designation of the self-originating absolute truth and is the internal essence and eternal seed of all Vedic hymns, according to Bhagavad Gita. The ancient sages, the Saptarishis, were enlightened with Vedic literature. The Vedas were created by the Lord for the welfare of mankind much before creation of man. Hence the sages were able to realize them. This is also precisely the reason why they are called eternal, Anadi. The motive of the Vedas is to help man to remain within the limitations of the Vedas despite having lost the spiritual emotion that he is I, Soham, by retaining awareness of the soul principle, or at least to prevent him from becoming unhappy in the materialistic world. The Vedas are meant primarily to bestow the entire creation with happiness rather than to attain the final liberation that is called moksha. The resultant benefit of a happy society is the final liberation. Due to smooth functioning of the cycle of righteousness, dharma, and the final liberation, society becomes happy. This itself is a cumulative merit. The Vedas are certainly overjoyed to see one individual liberated, but they are even happier to see 99 people making spiritual progress. The Vedas are not meant merely for spiritual contemplation. They also contain worldly and divine concepts in them. Importance of Vedas. The Vedas are Lord Narayana himself. Vedo Narayana Sakshat, meaning it is said that the Vedas are Swayambhu, Lord Narayana himself. Importance with reference to spiritual practice. Before the creation of man, the Lord created the absolute earth, absolute water, absolute fire, absolute air and absolute ether elements to fulfill the requirements of his, that is, the man's physical body. Similarly, he created the Vedas for the sake of the embodied soul undertaking spiritual practice, Jivatma. Importance of study of the Vedas. If the Vedas did not possess the potential to survive as they have over the ages, then they would have been dead long ago. The very fact that they have survived is evidence to prove their potential. Once it is said that this is the foundation of the temple of one's life, it becomes essential to study its nature. However, without the study of the Vedas, one cannot understand its nature. Proclamation of the Vedas.
Krunvanto Vishwamaryam means they make the entire universe Aryan. Kartavyamacharan Kamamakartavyamanacharan Tishtati Prakrutachareya sa Aryaiti Smritaha Vasishtha.
Meaning, the man who controlling his desires performs his duties in accordance with the norms of the great illusion, Prakriti, and the scriptures refraining from action prohibited by the scriptures is called on Aryan. Basic holy texts of Indian, Bharatiya, righteousness, dharma and culture. The Vedas constitute the main seat of Aryan religion. Manu's quote, Vedo khilo dharma moolam, meaning the Vedas are the very foundation of righteousness, is famous. And they are the first literary work in the world. Sage Vyasa realized this after completion of his study of them. He realized that since the verses, that is the mantra or the shloka, and many ruchas constitute an aphorism, that is shukta, and aphorisms, a shukta, a combination of ruchas, were scattered in different lineages, gotras. The Vedas had to be divided in such a way that they would serve the purpose of performing sacrificial fires and being handed down by tradition. If that was not done, then they would either not survive or would have unnecessary additions. If they were destroyed, then our culture, based on them, would undergo dissolution. Hence he dedicated himself to this task and divided the Veda only for the convenience of its study into 4 parts. He sorted all the verses, ruchas, from the Vedas and compiled the Rig Veda. He then separated the verses which could be sung and compiled the Samaveda. That part giving a detailed account of how to perform a sacrificial fire, yajna, in prose form was called the Yajurveda. The Atharva Veda was created by compiling the mantras useful in performing magic, Yajurvidya, and helping in worldly life. Because he divided the Veda into 4, the sage was named Vyasa, meaning Vedan Vivasa, the one who divided the Veda thereafter. The contemporary teachers, Acharyas, accepted sage Vyasa's division of the Vedas unconditionally. This will explain how important this accomplishment was. The total number of shlokas in Vedas altogether is 1 lakh suktas, as stated in Vishnu Purana. There was but one Veda in the oral tradition, the Yajur Veda. The first Veda in 4 parts consisted of 1 lakh stanzas in which there were 10 kinds of sacrificial rituals. Dividing it into 4 parts, Vyasa instituted the sacrificial rite that is administered by 4 kinds of priests, in which it is the duty of the Atharvyu priests to recite the prayers, Yajush, or direct the ceremony, of the Hotri priests to repeat the hymns, Richas, of the Udgatri to chant other hymns, that is Sama, and of the Brahmana priests to pronounce the formula called Atharva. Then the great Muni, having collected together the hymns called the Rigs, compiled the Rig Veda. With the prayers and directions termed the Yajuhas, he formed the Yajurveda. With those called the Sama, he formed the Samaveda, and with the Atharvas, he composed the rules of all the ceremonies suited to kings and the functions of the Brahmana agreeably to practice in the Atharva Veda. This was the original tree of the Vedas, having been divided by him into 4 principal stems, soon branched out into an extensive forest of knowledge. Sage Vyasa handed over a Rigveda Samhita called Bahuruch to a disciple named Paila, Ajurveda Samhita called Nigantaka to Vaishnavayana, a Samaveda Samhita called Chandogu to Jaimani, and a Atharvaveda Samhita called Angirasa to Samantu. These 4 disciples propagated the 4 Vedas. That is why the respective disciple is called the main teacher of the corresponding Veda text. In our Jnana Kosha, we are dividing the text according to deity, especially Rig Veda and Samaveda, according to concept in Atharva Veda, and according to ritual in the Yajurveda. Om.